Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to talk about some DNFs. So if you are not familiar, DNF means did not finish the book, and I've decided to do a series on my channel where every time I DNF 5 books, I'm going to share them with you guys. Most of these are going to be books that I do not plan to finish at any point in the future. A few of them are going to be ones that I might re-pick up, but I'm going to share them in increments of 5. I only have I think 8 total that I've DNF'd in the last 2 years. I don't do this very often because I am a very easy to please reader for the most part. I don't look at the book critically to try and find fault with it. I really read for enjoyment. That doesn't mean that books that are really poorly written go over my head or anything like that, but I know a lot of readers that go into the book looking for problematic things or errors or just things that they aren't going to like, and I don't do that. I kind of go in with an open mind as much as possible. I do, of course, have preconceived ideas sometimes that get me in trouble, but for the most part, I go in to enjoy the book. So a DNF is very rare to me, because I usually don't dislike the book enough to not finish it. And also it really bothers me to DNF because then if I am disliking the book a lot, then I can't give it 1 or 2 stars because I didn't finish it. So you will see on my Goodreads, if you follow me, I don't have a lot of 1 and 2 star books. A lot of the reason is because I don't usually finish the book if it's a 1 star for me, and usually it's only going to be a 1 star if I am not enjoying my entirety of the reading process, not just the end or whatever. So that being said, we're going to talk about my first 5 DNF books, and I no longer own any of these books because I really didn't like them, so we're just going to talk about them here. Let me do another quick disclaimer though. If you love these books, if they're your favorite books, if you really enjoy them, if you know the author or something like that, I am very sorry. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just trying to do a different style of video, and everybody has different tastes. I'm sure there are books that I love that you do not like at all, and for the most part I didn't hate any of these books. There were just things that I just didn't really feel like continuing on with, because also I have so many other books to read as well. I'm going to start this video with the books that I have DNF'd in the last 2 years. Basically the last 2 years that I've been doing YouTube, because that's when I have been reading the most for the past decade. So the very first DNF book that I did last year was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I had been hearing so many things about Neil Gaiman from all of the booktube community, and of course, just quotes on Pinterest and all these wonderful things. And I think I decided to start with American Gods, which, if you're not familiar, is one of his adult fantasy / mystery novels, and it's very, very large. I decided to start with it, A, because the TV show was coming out, and B, because I had just gotten Hoopla, which is an audiobook service through my library, and they had it, and they had a special production with different voices and things like that, or a longer version or something. So I got an audiobook, and the narrators were really good. I think I listened to maybe 30 minutes or so. I was really enjoying it. It starts off with a man that's in prison that you're not really sure if he's wrongly accused or not. You think that he is, and then he wants to go home to his wife, who he loves, and just all this stuff's happening, and then he winds up getting to go home, and he meets someone on a plane, and all these things happen, and I do think there is some magical elements in it. I can't really explain to you why I DNF'd this book without giving something away, but very early on in the book, there is something that happens with a man who meets this woman, and I was just so shocked by it. It was something sexual, and I was just shocked by it, and it was just not the type of book that I wanted to read. It was just insane to me, and I cannot get the image of this out of my head. And apparently they went ahead and did it on the TV show as well. And there was a funny story that I had involving American Gods too, that I had a client at the time that decided to read the book the same time that I started listening to it. Or she decided to watch the TV show because she was looking for TV shows, and I was like, hey, this is supposed to be a really popular one, and I knew she liked darker mysteries. And when this part happened in the book, this particular client was, I think she was like in her 60s, I was just horrified that I recommended she watch this TV show. So the next time she comes into my salon, she sits down and we're like really good friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, please tell me you did not watch American Gods. And she's like, oh yeah, I watched it. And I was like, no. And I was like, did they do the thing? And she's like, oh yeah, and I'm traumatized. And then she proceeded to tell me like other things that happened that were just like, just disturbing in a way that I cannot handle. So I am a wuss when it comes to like scary things and really spooky things, and that was not the situation with this particular incident in this book. I just like, I just didn't like it, and it just wasn't the type of book that I was wanting to get into, and it was just like too much graphic, weird stuff for me. Thankfully, I have since then read other Neil Gaiman books that I absolutely love, and I know people love American Gods. It was just not my style, and it was definitely not a good, it was one of the first audiobooks that I got into, and it was too much for me. So enough about that. Then last year I had a great rest of the year, and I literally DNF'd all of the rest of my books in October, I think maybe one in November, and there was a reason for that. So I have a collection of like slightly spooky, creepy, scary YA books, a few adult books, and I was trying to like read as many as possible, and so I was grabbing things that I really wasn't sure if I was gonna like because of just my reading taste, and also I just had like so many of them. So one of the first ones I DNF'd in October was Twilight Reimagined, unfortunately. I am a huge Twilight fan. I have a whole Twilight story time that I'm getting ready to post, or I may have already shared. I love it. I will let the haters out there yell at me. It's fine. It's one of my favorite series. I'm so excited to find Twilight Reimagined. So what Twilight Reimagined is for the 10th anniversary of the book, Stephenie Meyer rewrote the entire book of Twilight from a gender reversal perspective. So what she did was she changed all the names, and all of the men in the story are now female characters, and all the female in the story are now male characters, except for Bella's dad and mom. They're the same. So it's still Charlie and whatever her mom's name is. And she has reasons for that in the back. And she might have had one other character that I can't remember. But now we're hearing from Beau Swan, who is a normal teenager, and then we're hearing from Edwardia or something. I can't remember the name for the girl vampire, which to me that sounded really cool. It was like, instead it just was like that way. But I have Twilight ingrained in my head so much from watching the movies and reading the books, and I like rereading the books, that I just couldn't separate it and read it as like a new story. All I kept thinking is like, no, but that's supposed to be Edward and that's supposed to be Bella. And it wasn't the gender reversal that bugged me. It was just like the whole swap on the character, because she changed some of their personality traits too to fit with the male female and like all that stuff, and then like it was just really confusing to me because I was trying to pick out who was who, and it was not that hard to do. I wasn't enjoying it at all. I just had the original so in my head that I couldn't get into it. So unfortunately I did DNF this one, and I did donate it back to my library, I think, as well. I still think it was well written, but it was also like slightly unnecessary because she rewrote it, but she really just tweaked a few things. So it's just kind of like the book all over again, but male and females swapped around. So it was kind of strange. It was an odd one. The next book I DNF'd was Mark by PC Cast and I think Kristen Cast. This is the House of Night series. This is a 20-book vampire series. Now, I am still on the fence on whether or not I like vampire books. Again, I really enjoy Twilight, but of course that doesn't mean that you're going to like vampire books. The only other one I've read so far is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. And I loved that one, but I'm still kind of feeling out my like spooky reads to see what I really like to read. So I decided to give this one a chance, and this is one of my most disliked books, if I can say that, because I didn't finish it. I did read like 70 or 80 pages. To me, this was one of those ones that was written like for vampire lovers, but wasn't very well thought out, and it was just extremely cheesy, which I hate saying that because I like some cheesy books, but it was just so written for teenagers that I just don't like it when the authors do that, when they write books and they're trying to write like a teenager and they're trying to like young it down or dumb it down when it doesn't really need to be. And like literally the beginning of the book starts out and there's like a girl at her school and then like a vampire like points at her and is like, you are now marked, and she's like, oh crap, I'm marked for the house of the night now, and then I gotta leave my family and be a vampire or whatever. Like that's literally how it is written in the like the first page. And I just couldn't take it. I don't know why. It's just something about the writing style, because I don't think it was a vampire thing. It was just the way that it was written. I just was really like, and I knew that there was 20 books in the series, so this was one that I was like not gonna push through, and I had so many other books to get through. If you love the series, I'm really happy for you. I might have loved it if I was a little bit younger in this specific scenario. I might have enjoyed it when I was younger, but I couldn't do it. The next book that I DNF'd for similar reasons was Dorothy Must Die. I have a whole small rant on this on last year's, I think, September or October wrap up. I'll try and link it down below. Yeah, but I will try to relive that here for you. Kind of the same thing as Marked. The writing style, again, was written too much for a teenager's perspective. And it was just, I didn't like the main character. She was like getting in fist fights at school with like pregnant girls, and the pregnant girls were like white trash, and it was like, oh, I didn't like it at all. And this one is a retelling kind of The Wizard of Oz. It's about our new character, I think her name is Amy, in the future, and she winds up getting trapped in a tornado in Kansas and sent to Oz, where Dorothy has like taken over and become like an evil dictator. So the premise is very cool. The books are beautiful, and I was so excited to read it. It was very easy to read. I read about 140 pages. It wasn't like horrible writing necessarily. It's very easy to flow through. I didn't enjoy the characters. I didn't enjoy the way the world went. I thought personally that the writing style was too dumbed down, and then certain things that happened, there were literally sentences that were repeated several times within one page, and it was just like bad editing, which is really sad. A lot of people that really like this series, but I was so disappointed with it, and I heard that the rest of the series only goes like downhill from there. So unfortunately this one did not work for me, and I was like super bummed about it. And the last book I want to talk about, which I vaguely even remember, is A Feed, and I can't remember who wrote it, but I'll show you. The picture will be like popped up on here. This one is a sci-fi book like about the future, where basically the internet and like all this information is like transmitted into our brains, and it's called like The Feed, and there is constant like feeds popping up in your head, and we're all distracted because there's all this stuff happening. We've got all this extra stuff in our brain, and then I think there are characters, and they're like kind of like the popular kids slashed in space, and then you can travel into interdimensions. Again, the premise was really cool. The writing style for this one wasn't necessarily bad, but it was super weird, and the slang was really crazy and different, and you almost couldn't follow what he was trying to say. And then the main characters were like just unlikable, which was kind of the point, and that doesn't always bother me. But the way that they talked to each other, and there was like kind of a romance happening, and I didn't really like the way the romance was going. This is like one of the weirdest books that I've ever tried to read. I might try and read this one again in the future. Let me know if you've read it before. It's won awards. It just like so shocked me the way that it was written and what was happening, and it just, not in a good way. I wasn't enjoying it, and I found the characters like really unenjoyable, and then the slang really bothered me as well. So that was one that I wound up quitting, I think, again about 70 pages in. Okay, you guys, those are the first 5 books that I DNF'd in the last couple of years. I'll be doing another video hopefully next month, because I think I have at least 12 books that I've DNF'd so far. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and didn't find it offensive. I'm sorry if you love these books. Let me know down below if you think I should give Feed another chance. I'm pretty much solidified on the other ones, like I'm pretty much done. But let me know some books down below that you have DNF'd, and I'll see you guys next time on the bright side.